Hi everybody, this is Kevin, and welcome back to another manga review. And today we're going to take a look at the side stories from Battle Angel Alita, which is created, written, and drawn by Yukito Kishiro. In the back of Deluxe Edition Volume 5, we have a side story called Ashen Victor. I did a review like 2 weeks ago of Volume 9, and there's a couple side stories here. We have Ashen Victor, which is a Motorball story, and then there's this other hardcover that I got, which is called Holy Night and Other Stories, and it's 4 stories never before published in English. So essentially this Ashen Victor, what happened, and I sort of touched on this in the last video of Alita, is that Yukito Kishiro ended the series abruptly because he wasn't doing very well health-wise, wasn't doing very well mentally, and he wanted to take a break. So he took a break to get his head together. And Alita at that point had become so popular, and people wanted him to write more. And his first book that he wrote after his hiatus was this Ashen Victor, which is a very dark, sort of depressing story. And he mentions that in the the dialogue he has here. He's got a before and after with Q&As and stuff. And he mentions that he wrote this, he was in a very dark place, and you can tell this is a dark book. But the other stories in this are more hope-filled, and we'll get to it. So this is Ashen Victor, The Secret Heart in Motorball. And it's 5 parts here. You got the different characters. Sneeve is the main character. Beretta, the prostitute, and all the different team managers and stuff. And essentially it starts out pretty cool with color, and this is a sort of a future shot here of what's to come. Interesting. They choose color for a couple pages, but essentially I'm going to go through these rather quick because there's not much substance, and it doesn't really relate much, especially this one doesn't really relate much to the Alita series, but essentially you can see here it's very dark, and this is the undercity of the Scrapyard, and there's a lot of drug trading going on with stuff that makes the Motorball players go fast, because they constantly need to go fast and get their high. That's why a lot of these guys do it. They do it for the fame, for the money, and for the high. And a lot of the people that watch it, they can hook up their brains to like feel what's going on and see what's going on. And they hook up to a lot of the guys that are more prone to losing, because I guess they like the feeling of dying and exploding. And that's why I said, Kishiro wrote this in a very depressed tone here. And what happens is he comes home one day. The prostitute was, his sort of love interest, and he finds that she had died. So he's looking for revenge, and this is just a pretty dark, depressing story here. But eventually what happens is he uncovers this whole drug trade that's going on with the Motorball players, and into how they're fixing the races to determine the winners and who's making the money and stuff. And he comes to that realization, and because he's done the Motorball circuit for so long, he's capable of winning. And he's usually in there just to get blown up. You saw one of the pages said blow yourself up, because a lot of the guys like to rush when he blows up. They like to watch, get connected to the VR and experience that. And then he eventually miraculously wins. And he triumphs over all and uncovers the drug trade and is able to make a name for himself in that way. And then at the back here, Yukito Kishiro has the Q&A. And he actually mentions that interesting enough, he was inspired by Frank Miller, if you can believe that, is one of that was one of the names I recognize. He mentioned a few, but Frank Miller he was inspired by in terms of the artwork, which I thought was interesting. And this series came out in the 90s, in like 1990 to 1995, I want to say. And then they ask him a lot about the religion, because like I said, it's very religious, with calling the city Zalem, and then you saw that the above city was Jeru, and together, you put them together, it's Jerusalem. And there's a lot of religious references and things of that nature, and then he also mentions that he came up with a lot of the words from reading dictionaries, because he didn't really have much to read, so he read dictionaries, and that's how he got a lot of these words. And a lot of it was from a German dictionary. So it's interesting stuff there. This is probably the Ashen Victor is probably the weakest in my opinion. These stories are more hope-filled, like I said. Holy Night and Other Stories. And it gives you the timeline of what's gone on here. And it also gives you a timeline on events that has gone on in last order. which is the sequel series, which I haven't read. So it doesn't make much sense to me. But they establish here that it takes place right now. We're in 2547 AD. So it's like 500 years later into the future. And this story, so like I said, there's 4 short stories. You have Holy Night, Sonic Finger, Hometown, and Barjack Rhapsody. Now, Holy Night takes place before Dr. Ido rebuilds Alita. And basically, it's taken place a few days after he was expelled from Zalem. And he finds this girl here who he rescued, and her name is Carol. And this is when he gets established being a hunter-warrior. And he takes her in because she's out in the cold, and she's not really saying much. So it's like, oh, she must have some sort of memory loss or whatever. And like I said, the religious references, there's Christmas trees in here. They sing Silent Night, Holy Night. He's got all that stuff going on. But, like I said, he meets Gonzo, who's his assistant with the doctor's office that he establishes. And he's working on the androids, on the machines, but he doesn't want to have it in him. He's not a cyber physician. He's a human. And he wants to work on humans. And so he starts drinking himself to death. And then he eventually figures out some guy to work for to work on humans and mend them back together. So Carol here is becoming more outgoing. She's speaking more. They're on this, this platform she wanted to go on that was going to rise and fall. Like one of those rides at the amusement park. And they're up there watching the sunrise, and it's a beautiful thing. And then you see this cyborg is following them, stalking them. And good stuff. So he meets this other Zalemite, you see, with the insignia on his forehead. And he's able to help this human who has a cyborg arm get a human arm now. Through, like, Desty Nova's technology. He was an associate of his way back when. And there, like I said, she's singing Silent Night, Holy Night, all is calm, all is bright. Singing this Christmas songs. Excuse me. So, eventually, their house is collapsed by that cyborg. The cyborg's after Carol, and he can't find her. She's been kidnapped by the cyborg, and left a video recording of her asking for help. And, he makes his way back and is able to save Carol. But the monster makes its way. And essentially, Carol is like a clone of the cyborg, and the cyborg's trying to get back in her body, and this is where the story gets like all crazy and stuff like that, and the doctor who's working with the other Zalemite is like, oh, she's a clone, oh, I told you, oh, some of the villains' motivations are always kind of out of left field, especially considering the fact that this is a side story. Like I said, all these stories were written after the fact that Kishiro put the series on hiatus. But the art, and Ashen Victor was the first. And you saw how dark and depressing it is. And sort of how, like, bleh, a lot of the drawings were. Whereas this, you get more great expressions and more action and quite good. So, that ends there. The epilogue, and he's got the sign for his new facility. He's working on cyborgs again. And you got the building here that says, it's written in Japanese, but on the side here it says it's Daisuke Ido Repair. Cyborg, androids, robots, repairs, tuning, maintenance for all models. And that's transition to, the first issue of Alita. So then we got Sonic Finger Part 1. And this takes place right after Alita defeated Jasugun and made her way back to the Scrapyard with Dr. Ido to live out a peaceful life. And she's essentially quit being a hunter-warrior and instead is training the other hunter-warriors to become powerful. And this is like our morning exercise rituals. When a bullet comes out of nowhere and knocks a hole in the can there. And guns, you learned if you read the main series. Guns are a capital A offense. You can't have guns. You get arrested. You get murdered. You get bounties put on your head. So Alita meets this interesting man. And they're looking for the guy who was shooting at them earlier. And they've enlisted all the other hunter warriors to get ready to prepare themselves. And, that mysterious guy you saw from before has this briefcase with cyber-enhanced arms that he straps on. And he takes out a bag here with all these little balls, and he eats them. And you hear click, clack, tick, 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 tick. And starts shooting them out of his cyber-enhanced hands. And basically, with his super speed, he can, the sonic finger, essentially, that's the name of the title of the story, he can fire them with his fingers and at the rate of a speeding bullet. And that's how he's able to use this weapon without actually using a physical gun. Because that'd be put a bounty on his head, so he's able to get away with it without getting convicted as a criminal. So he's one by one taking down all these hunter warriors. When Alita finally shows up, they have the great Texas standoff. This is the classic manga and anime trope where they have the stare down, they go show each other's faces, get ready to almost draw their weapons, and Alita pulls out one of the sonic balls as well as he does. And they fire them both at the same time, and they collide, and it's sort of like an atom exploding. Boom! And she's quicker than him and is able to kick his hand right off and defeats him. Phew! So then it cuts to this hometown, which is one of the deckmen he was a survivor in the carnage from this is when Alita was working for Eisenberg. And defeating the Barjack. And this deckman is just wandering the desert there, trying to figure out how to get back to the GIB. And it cuts to Eisenberg there. He says, delete. And he gives the order to Alita. However, he's there playing with all these kids. And Alita's got the sniper, the scope aimed on him with all the kids playing. And she's got to wait because she's like, I can't kill any civilians. Great drawing here. I really like that with the gun and everything. It looks very well done. Waits for all the kids to finish. And he's got a seashell. He's got a little memento from all the kids. And he buries it, looking on the sunset. Alita lets him have his moment. And she fires, and that's it. A1, mission complete. That's that. So then you get the last story here, Barjack Rhapsody, which is Koyomi. This is taking place after Kishiro abruptly ended the series where Master Den was defeated at the Scrapyard, and she's taken up a career of photography, trying to sell pictures to the J. Jonah Jameson of the Alita universe. And he's like, oh, these are all blurry. You gotta be a pro. So she's on a quest to find Den, and she's working with former Barjack members to find him. Going on their way to find Den, having a dream about him. And then she sees him. She's like, oh, it's Master Den. But it's really an imposter. So these are the guys controlling the imposter. And she's got another dog from this guy. And, she had Fury, who was died protecting her in the main series. And she makes her way here. And this is the puppet master of Den. He's like, oh, yeah, we're gonna get the Barjack Revolution. All right, well, I'll help you because I'm the only one that knows anything about the Barjack. You guys are a bunch of imposters. So back at the Scrapyard, with the abrupt ending, they had the short story to wrap things up with Kaos and Victor bringing peace to the Scrapyard and working together. And they got to do it again to stop Den from coming back. And the whole Barjack, all the Mad Max characters show up. That was also in the whole Q&A that I showed in the other book. That was another one of his inspirations, he said, the Mad Max. And a lot of the Japanese writers are also inspired by the atomic bomb. A lot of these especially Godzilla. That was specifically inspired by that. That's how Godzilla was created. So there's two Dens now. Just one's an imposter, and one is actually being controlled by Kaos because he's so powerful. He can do that, I guess. So they have a standoff, and he leaves, and the Barjack is dismantled. So that's it. This is more stuff from Kishiro, and he mentions the fact of his illness. There was an incident that left me ravaged in my health and spirit. I can't tell you the exact nature of this incident without violating the privacy of others. All I can say is it left me neurotic, terrified of my work and other people, and so he had an instance where he was so overwhelmed, he was ill, and he mentally and physically, and couldn't work. So that's why he had to stop. But it was so popular that he was brought back to do it again. He did Last Order, I think 29 volumes of that, and he's working on Mars Chronicle right now. So he's bounced back considerably well. And then all these stories have their little timeline of when they take place. And his thoughts on each story. And it was just very good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this whole series. Like I said, great drawing of all the characters. Alita front and center. There's Desty Nova. There's Figure 4. There's Jasugun, Yugo, Dr. Ido, all the characters. Great stuff. So, going to take a little hiatus from Alita as I wait for the last order books to come in. I plan to sit down and do a whole video just talking about the series in general. Maybe I got to watch the movie again. Maybe I'll watch the movie again and do a review of the movie as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And stay tuned for more comic book reviews and more manga reviews coming soon. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.